As we're here in Hull, north of England, let me make an admission right off the bat. I am from Yorkshire. Yorkshire people are known to have the perfect blend of modesty and humility. Well-grounded human perspective and an impeccable sense of humour. We're also known for straight talking. So let's do some. Feminism should concentrate on the interests of men, on making men's lives better. Ooh, I have some work to do. Let me start by telling you that I am the father of two beautiful teenage girls. I run a business that's known for its progressive approach to diversity and inclusion, and I have been an active feminist for over 25 years. So what on earth am I talking about? Well, my journey started very personally many years ago when my daughters were very small. I decided to do something which, looking back, was reckless. And it showed no proper concern for my own personal safety. Because I went, ladies and gentlemen, to a mums and tots group. Now, for those of you who are uninitiated, here's what happens. Little children arrive and they lay claim to an area of carpet. That is now theirs for the next 45 minutes. And they will defend their territory with various plastic missiles. What I wasn't expecting is the mums were going to do the same. There's a man over there. Why? And it occurred to me that these ladies who were there were spending the rest of their week pursuing their professional careers, asserting their right to independence, to equal rights, equal respect, and all the options open to men, and rightly so. But somehow it didn't feel like the mirror was true, the mirror image was true, if you like, in that tots group. And it got me to thinking that these contradictions are starting to be borne out of how feminists like me have developed our arguments and our passions. And if you look at society, we'll find more examples. Let's go all the way back to 1912, a time not known for its enlightened approach to equal opportunities. Women still didn't have the vote. Women couldn't be accountants or lawyers or politicians. There were limitations on inheriting property, all sorts of things. You could construct a very strong argument that women were wrongly treated as second-class citizens in 1912. And yet in 1912 is also famous for the Titanic disaster, a story that will be well known to you all. April 15th, in the early hours, Titanic hit an iceberg and sank. The human tragedy arose out of the fact that there were insufficient lifeboats for all the passengers on board. So the captain and crew needed to prioritize those places. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was the most profound choice that anybody could make, it seems to me, because what they were deciding is who is going to live and who is going to die. Somebody tell me how they prioritized. Who went first onto the lifeboats on the Titanic? Shout out at me. Thank you. Women and children first. Women and children first. Not children and their mothers, or children and their families. Women and children first. And that was to have a dramatic impact on the horrific statistics of that disaster. 72% of women who boarded Titanic survived the sinking, and 80% of men perished. And of the 20% that survived, they returned home to be branded cowards because they had died, and they had lived rather, and women had died. At a time when women were somehow second-class citizens. Doesn't quite add up. At the most profound moment, women were held out to be the most valuable. Let's bring it right up to date, to last year. Now, there's something that's so important to the fabric of the UK that we couldn't not talk about it, and it is, of course, Strictly Come Dancing. Now, if you're watching this from outside the UK, you might think, what is all the fuss about? And you might have a point. Let me tell you about it. It's a phenomenon, which is a TV series and a dance competition for celebrities. Female and male celebrities dance over a series of weeks to win a trophy. And we get very excited about it. At the start of this process, there has to be an allocation, because a pairing exercise, because the celebrity will be paired with a professional dancer, and that will be their partner and teacher all the way through the series. The female dancers paired with the male celebrities, the male dancers paired with the female celebrities. Now, I'm about to show you a clip from last year. A celebrity here, oh, that's not from Strictly. That's from Strictly. So in Strictly, at the start of the process, there is a pairing exercise. And the contestant stands there and is about to be allocated their professional dancer. Let's go to last year. Ruth Langsford was a contestant, a celebrity here in the UK, also married to a celebrity called Damon Holmes. She's about to be allocated her dance partner, and she's asked how she feels about it. Let's see what she has to say.
Nana, you are going to be swapping Eamon for one of these guys.
Only one? I hope he's horribly jealous, because he doesn't normally get jealous, so I intend to rub up against anybody I can, really. You know.
I intend to rub up against anybody I can. Really? Now, I don't remember any kind of media outcry. How could she say such a thing? That's horrendous. I don't remember that. And maybe it's fine. I offer no view as to whether it is or it isn't. But here's the important question I say to you. What would have happened if the male celebrity had have said that when looking at the line of female dancers? I'm going to rub up against anybody I can. It somehow doesn't land the same way, does it? But why? Equality, same rules. Why should it be different? And so we start to get this tension, I suggest, that might be a break on the progress that feminism still needs to make. And I think there's an answer to this. And first is to accept that equal does not necessarily mean identical. And let me try and take you on that journey. First, I have a revelation for you, and you heard it here first. Men and women are different. It's true. It really is true. Now, we might debate as to what extent they are or not, and there's a real nervousness, I think now, creeping in around talking about difference, because differences have been horribly used without justification to oppress women. And that nervousness around the difference still exists. I was accused of being a sexist pig the other day. Oh, he's a pig, isn't he? I don't know why. I was a sexist pig the other day, so I was asked for my view on a car. And I said, I think I really like that. I think it's like a woman's car. You can't say that. I said, no, you're probably right. The language is probably clumsy. What I should have said is that when the manufacturer was designing that car, they were probably aiming at a certain demographic that's largely populated by women, and probably road tested it to see what their preferences would be so they could sell more cars. I could have said that. Life's a bit too short, though, isn't it? So we have this nervousness. And I say, equal doesn't mean identical. We can have difference as long as it's not mandated, as long as it doesn't restrict anybody's equal right to pursue a fulfilling life. Let's straight to the next area that I think feminists might be in error. The argument runs, well, this is all very well, Darren, talking about the lives of men who've had it pretty good so far. What women should do is get at least to that level, if not further, before we start looking at the big picture. I say two things. One, feminism should not be about women getting their own back. Okay, we can look at a better life for this. And secondly, in the context of men's and women's lives, it is, of course, more complicated. Let's look at some statistics around men's lives here in the UK. If a man dies under the age of 50 in the UK, statistically, the cause of death is likely to be suicide. And statistically, men find it more difficult to talk about mental health concerns because the still prevailing culture of the man up. If you are in prison in the UK, you are overwhelmingly likely to be a man. Around about 95% of the population in prison are male. If you are a victim of violent crime, you're twice as likely to be a victim of violent. You're twice as likely to be a victim of violent. I'm going to do this. Just make yourself comfortable. You are twice as likely to be a victim of violent crime if you are a man. And domestically, 1 in 3 men consider the pressure to be a breadwinner, something that may harm their chances of finding their life partner. So it's not all one way. Now, I'm not here to suggest that men have it worse than women or women have it better than men. I'm here to suggest it's just the wrong set of questions. The questions are around what should feminism pursue and can it broaden its appeal to actually talk about a better society? And would that, in turn, advance the interests of women? Now, I spent a lot of time putting together a very, very technical, in-depth and expensive diagram to make this point. Now, let's go stereotype. The blue circle are the boys, the pink circle are the girls, and it represents the traditional roles, the overlap in the middle, the joint roles, if you like. This is not to scale. I say that these exist to a greater or lesser extent, and to some extent that might be okay. Equal doesn't have to mean identical, but if it's forced or restricted, we have a problem that needs to be dealt with. Feminism has rightly been very good at pushing that line that way, and I like to think that I've played a part in that and continue to do so. You see a role that's traditionally for men, think, why? Why is that right? What are the barriers, real or perceived, and how do we break them down? That has to be the right thing to do. We have an opportunity to take it further and start looking that way. What are the roles and environments that are traditionally female environments, and how do we open those to men? I say it matters less how often they are taken up, but more that the argument is for all to have those opportunities, and that feminism develops a momentum and a credibility if it broadens its appeal that way. Now, I had a revelation a couple of years ago as my daughters became teenagers and they were reflecting on their childhood. Something that I hadn't realized was how people had reacted to them. They grew up living with their dad as a single parent. Slightly strange, slightly unusual. But the frequency and the commonality of the responses they got was fascinating. Typically middle-aged women, probably because those are the people that they spoke to the most. So it goes like this. I live with my dad. Stock response number one. Oh, is your mum dead? I live with my dad. Oh, that must be really difficult. I live with my dad. Oh, does your nan look after you? I live with my dad. Oh, do you need any help? Yes, we need help. Come, help. And they laughed about it, thought it was interesting, but doesn't it shine a light on an opportunity? We risk building hypocrisy into our feminist argument unless we broaden it and say, actually, it's about gender neutrality and an opportunity for people to pursue a fulfilling life, whatever that may be. Now, I'm not suggesting that this will be what we see on every street corner in Yorkshire or anywhere else. I'm not. But the fact that it could be an opportunity, and it would be fine, is really what feminists argue about, just the other way around. So, here is the opportunity. A coffee morning run by men, and mums are welcome, and a feminism argument that talks about opportunities to lead a fulfilling life. We expand our argument to men, and we pick up speed and do even greater things. And that is why I say feminists should concentrate on the interests of men. Thank you.